welcome back to Morning Coffee. Megan here. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Before I get into the resources that I share about organization, productivity, personal growth, and goal getting, I do have a special message that I'd like to share with you about the situation happening here in the United States. If you would like to skip to the main part of the video, click this timestamp or go to the timestamp below and you can get right into the video, but I do have an important message that I'd like to share with you. As a creator, my vision for this community has always been to help women, to support them, to encourage them, to share resources with them. And for me, as a creator, that always starts from a place of what is going on in our lives right now? What is my community going through? What do they need? What are they dealing with? What are they going through? And how can I help them handle that? And in fulfillment of that purpose and that mission, I feel it would be a complete failure to show up for you if I didn't address what is happening in the United States right now. If you are watching this much later, this is June of 2020, and in the United States, there is rioting and protesting all over the country because of the issue we face here in our country with racial discrimination. And every community in every state across our entire nation has been affected by this, especially victims of racial discrimination and people of color. So to support you and encourage you and help you and give you resources, I have compiled a couple of links below in the description that you can click on. I'm sure that there are people in our community who are wondering, how do I talk to my kids about racial discrimination and racial injustice? Maybe there's some business owners on this channel who are wondering how to use their platform to talk about this issue. There might be people in this community who have experienced racial discrimination and they want to share their stories. And maybe you're like me, who is not a person of color, a white person who has always had the privilege of not having racial discrimination affect me. Maybe you want to help and create actual change. And so I have compiled a couple of resources below that you can click on. There is a lot of information being shared right now, and not all of it is helpful, and not all of it is accurate. As always, you have to be a responsible consumer of media and information, and taking action is the only thing that will create change. And so I encourage you to click those links below. So that is my perspective as a creator. As a human being, as Megan, as a non-person of color, I am scared of saying the wrong thing and being a contributor to the problem, because I don't want to be a part of the problem. But I know in my heart of hearts that silence is a big part of the problem. And so I'm going to choose to say something. And if you're like me and you're not sure where to start, I might suggest starting with something very simple. What is right is right. What is wrong is wrong. So if you're searching for the right thing to say right now, start with racism is wrong. That's where I'm starting. It's only the beginning of a conversation, certainly not the end of it. A lot of conversation and action needs to happen, but I'm starting there. Again, please check out the links below. I appreciate your time and attention. Let's get back to the video, but make sure you check out those links below, and thank you so much for listening. Today I wanted to talk about creating actual change, and I think that this is something that all of us can relate to in many different areas of our lives. We all know that it is one thing to say you want change, and it's another thing to talk about wanting change, it's a complete other to actually create it and create it within your life. And so today I wanted to talk about the tips that I have that you can implement in your own life to help you actually make changes in the way that you live your everyday lives for the better in whatever is important to you at the moment. You can create change anytime you want to in your life for anything that is important to you, whether that is finances or family and relationships or fitness and health or social causes that you believe in. Whatever in your life you'd like to change, I want you to know that you have the opportunity at any time to start taking steps and creating action. So let's talk about some of the tips that I have for actually making change in your life. The first step to creating change in your life is actually claiming the change that you want to make. You have to make a commitment to making a change. Right now, I am reading a book by Gretchen Rubin called Better Than Before, and this is all about how people change and change their lives, and it's by using the power of habits. And she's talking in the book that there are people who respond best to external expectations, like having an accountability partner or posting on social media about making a change. And then there's people who are more motivated by making an internal expectation to themselves. And, such as writing down in a journal or writing your goals down. And so whichever works the best for you, do that. I personally am an internal person. I like to write my goals down on a regular basis. I like to revisit them all the time. I like to take my journal and kind of work through things internally. And I am actually good at showing up for myself with internal expectation. If I tell myself that I'm going to read for 10 minutes, 5 nights a week, and I put it in my planner, I'm good at showing up and making that happen. So the first step to actually making change in your life is you have to claim and define and choose that you're going to make change. And we all respond differently to making changes in our lives, like Gretchen's talking about in her book, and I would highly recommend this book if it's something that you're looking at doing. It's a great resource for you. So do what is right for you. In your heart of hearts, you know that you are capable of making change. And so you have to decide what's best for you. But it starts with claiming it, either internally or externally, or maybe both. But the first step is to write down or post or announce that you are making change in your life. Once you've decided that you are committing to making a change and you've claimed that internally, externally, or both, you got to sit down and start getting to the actual work. And I feel like a lot of us just want to jump right in. If you set a fitness goal, for example, you just want to go ahead and run out and buy those tennis shoes or buy that gym membership or buy that fitness equipment, whatever you think it is that's going to help you along the way. But I might challenge you to take a little time to be intentional about it and spend maybe 10, 15 minutes brainstorming and actually coming up with reasons why this is important to you and things that you will do to actually make this change happen. So for me right now, I am actually going 30 days without soda, which is actually a challenge for me. There have been times in my life where I was consistently having a soda every single day. And right now I don't do it every single day. In the past 6 months or so, I completely cut it out from my daily routine, but I was still having it every now and again, going to a restaurant, ordering out. We do have soda at home. And so I decided for 30 days that I would go without soda to prove to myself that I could and that I didn't need it and that I have plenty of other options available to myself. I literally took my notebook and I wrote down the reasons why I didn't want to be drinking it for 30 days, which was A, it's bad for you, and B, to prove to myself that I could do it. And then I started jotting down a list of all of the other things that I could drink instead. Like, okay, when I'm craving a Sprite, I will drink LaCroix. When I am craving a dark soda, I'm going to have an iced tea or something like that. And so taking the time to actually like put ideas out into the universe just really helps like your brain and your energy and your heart and your subconscious and everything around you set up for success. It just puts you all in the same page. And I know that taking action is very important and you can't plan forever and not take actual action. But there is something to be said for taking 10 to 15 minutes to jot down some ideas for yourself on how you plan to make change happen. Sometimes the change that we're trying to make in our lives is going to be a long one. It's going to either be a task that is never fully done, like being a great mother, being a great citizen of the world, etc. Or it's something really long term, like paying off debt, and you've got, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to pay off. And so the change that you've committed to and the steps that you've outlined for yourself are a lot. There's a lot of them. And so when we tend to look at a project that's huge, it's really easy to lose track and to stop making progress because we're overwhelmed by the scope of the project. And I believe that taking action is easier when you divide a big task into smaller items that are actionable. So for example, this isn't necessarily an example of a big change I wanted to make in my life, but it's an example of how I use this. So I wanted to put up a wedding photo collage in our master bedroom. I just wanted to use our wedding pictures, have them around us, create an atmosphere in our master bedroom that was romantic and sentimental and important to us. And so that involves a lot of steps. And instead of looking at it and being like, ugh, that's going to take me like forever, I decided to break it down into smaller pieces. So step one was to go on to Shutterfly and pick out my favorite photos. The second step was to edit those photos down and order them. Then I bought photo frames. And then my next step was to measure the wall space where I wanted it to go. Then another one was to cut out my paper grid, put all the frames on the grid, arrange and trace them. Right? So I was taking this bigger thing and putting it into smaller actionable steps. And then what I do is what goes on my planner or in my calendar to get done isn't work on photo collage because that's really like generic and could mean anything. I put that action step on there. So order photo frames, for example. So that is one of the key strategies I've used to make things happen in my life, and that is to make small actionable steps, break a big thing into small actionable steps so that you can actually make them happen. So call grandma, look up how much debt that I have, pull my credit report, run 2 miles every week, things like that. The next step to creating actual change is to set yourself up for success. Make these changes easier on you. Make them simple and easy for you to complete. So if you want to work out every morning at 5 a.m., some of the things that you could do to set yourself up for success is plan your bedtime the night before so that you go to bed on time and are able to wake up at 5 a.m. You could pop your fitness DVD already into the DVD player. You could sleep in your work clothes or have your work clothes set out for you on your bed. So when you wake up in the morning, you just put them on and go to work. If you're working on saving more money in your life, you might set aside time each week to meal plan so that you aren't going to the grocery store as often. You could make a list of all of the things that you want to buy and set a rule for yourself that you wait 48 hours before you buy anything. As we know, actually making change during the day, every day, while you're living your lives and responding to all your responsibilities is hard. Make it easy on yourself. Find a way to make doing those actions simple, easy, and convenient. If the actions that you need to take are simple, easy, and convenient for you, you've got a much higher likelihood of actually getting them done. If you want to make lasting change in your life, you have to have a plan B. We all know that life gets in the way and things happen. And so if you are planning on making change in your life, like I am going to go back to school, it's not that difficult to come up with some of the things that might get in the way of you actually getting that thing done. Like my kids might demand my attention during class time. I may have a hard time getting my homework done because of all of the commitments the kids have after school. It might be hard for me to focus on my lessons because I have a husband working from home right now. Taking some time to identify the things that you know at some point will get in your way and figuring out what you're going to do to circumvent them is going to make a huge difference in you actually making change happen. So for me, when I'm thinking about my Giving Up Soda challenge, it's like these are the things that I know are going to be hard for me. Going out to restaurants, that's going to be hard for me because that would be a situation in which I'd normally get a soda, and where soda is readily available and someone who I'm with very well may likely order a soda. So I have to have a plan in my brain of these are the things, these are the choices, these are the alternatives that I'm going to have available to me, and these are one of the things that I'm going to order. Last and probably most important step towards making actual change happen in your life is to revisit the commitments that you've made and revisit them regularly. Revisit, 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 revisit. You achieve what you track, right? I feel like that I have read that in a lot of like self-help resources that I've consulted over the years. You measure what you track, or you achieve what you track. You achieve what you track. So you can't just set out an intention or set out a goal or set out to change a habit or set out to make a difference in your community and just go ahead and like make that statement and then never follow up to see if you're actually achieving that statement, that you're actually making progress, doing the actions to move forward. Even though progress is slow, you have to reward yourself for the progress that you are making. Every single day, it might seem like you're not making any difference, but when you take the time to step back and look over your life and where you started and where you're going, you can start to see the accumulation of those little steps. Accumulation of little steps is what feels like achievement. And so it's important that you take the time to revisit the changes you want to make in your life. I have a couple of suggestions for how to do this. Number one is the Start Today Journal by Rachel Hollis. She encourages everyone to use the Start Today Journal. You write down 5 things you're grateful for every day, and then you write down a list of 10 dreams that you want to achieve, 10 goals that you want to achieve, and you literally use this every single day and you write them down every single day. That is a great resource for you. I also talked in my last video about the Artist of Life workbook. This is an annual goal setting tool. This allows you to set goals annually, quarterly, and monthly, and to reflect upon those goals. So this is a great resource if you're trying to make sure you're revisiting your intentions for having a better life and changing your life. As I talked about, those are sort of examples of internally managing and internally expecting yourself to change. If you're someone who needs external, consider using an accountability partner for this. So checking in with your sister every week about this one thing that you're working on, this one goal that you're working on, this one habit you're switching, this one thing you're trying to change. Or join a Facebook group for people who are working on something. So for example, Rachel Cruz, who is Dave Ramsey's daughter, has a Facebook group for people trying to get out of debt or people trying to share resources on saving money. I'm a huge believer that the content that you surround yourself with has a huge impact on your mindset and your ability to continually make progress and make change. It's the reason why I follow people like Rachel Cruz or some of the other financial gurus on YouTube. It's why I like Rachel Hollis. It's why I like Amy Landino, because you aren't just surrounded by the people that you physically see, you're also surrounded by the content that you consume and create and digest. And so I wanted to just make that mention that there are ways to adapt, having the right revisiting structures around you depending on what works for you. But that would be my most important tip and most biggest thing I'd like to point out in terms of actually making change in your life is that you have to track it, and you have to measure it, and you have to revisit it, and you have to think about it regularly. Set up a system where you are regularly reviewing these things for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to lose track of the motivation you have for the change you want to make. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it included some tips that are going to help you create change within your life. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to this channel. I would like to have this community start out really strong in 2020 with 1,000 subscribers. So please consider subscribing so you can join the community, help me reach my goal. I will be back with another video on Sunday and Wednesday, and I will see you then. Thank you so much. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.